All right. Well, hello, this is Mr. Dubchuk, and we're going to do a quick algorithm and flowchart review. And one of the big things with this is, let me make my video a little smaller. There we go. One of the big things with this is we're just trying to work on breaking down big problems into individual steps. That is probably the most important thing I can teach you in this class, even if you don't go into a computer science field. So I realize this probably isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but it's incredibly important to be able to think in this way, so we have to be able to practice it. So here we go. Remember, an algorithm is a list of steps that leads to a desired outcome. Just a list of steps in order. But then the flowchart is what we use to visualize that so that we can see it and we can communicate it to somebody else. So what we'll do today to practice, this works really well, is I will give you 4 examples where I'll read you a scenario, you'll try to draw a flowchart for it, and then I'll give you the solution at the end. You learn by comparing yours to mine. At the end, I'll give you a 5th one where I don't give you the solution. You're turning that in. That's for me to check your progress to see if you're understanding it. So remember the symbols that we use here, right? Oval for beginning and ending point. The rectangle is a step that the computer does, not a step that the human does. And then finally, the yes or no questions are in the rhombus. Hear the bell going off in the background. So what we're writing today are these conditional flowcharts, ones that have a yes or no question in the middle of it. So all of these are going to involve writing a yes or no question of some kind. So what we have to do is figure out what are the 2 possible outcomes, outcome 1, outcome 2. What are the 2 possible outcomes, and what is a yes or no question that decides it? Now, all of these flowcharts, as we've been learning them, usually a lot of us have been starting with the word begin. Well, not anymore. We are never, ever again starting with the word begin. Instead, we need to figure out what is the specific action that starts the algorithm. So think of your Magic 8-Ball app. The algorithm starts when you press the 8-ball. So when you press the 8-ball is what would go in the starting event. So we are never, ever again, the rest of computer science, using the word begin as the starting event in our algorithm. There's a big misconception that your entire app is going to be one flowchart, but that is not the case. This app right here, I have 2 buttons. I have my refill button and my dispense scoops button, and those would be 2 different starting events, therefore 2 different flowcharts. So keep that in mind as we go. So here's how we'll practice. I'll give you a solution. You'll write it. Some people might be here. Most people are going to be here. Few people might even be there behind my camera. It's important, if you are way off target on this first one, to not in your brain go, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this, I suck at it. That's important, because if you do that, you're going to wind up turning off the part of your brain that lets you learn. So don't turn off the learning parts of your brain by assuming you suck. We'll do more practice. The next practice will get a little closer. The next practice will get a little closer, and then eventually most of us will be on target. So on target doesn't necessarily mean you have the exact same thing I do. On target means your flowchart will work. Your algorithm will work. That's that. You've identified the 2 outcomes. You've identified a good yes or no question. Yours will work. In the ballpark, so we're not doing variables today. Don't worry about that. Maybe you're trying to combine operations into one box. It's 1 operation per box. Maybe you're not coming up with the best yes or no questions. That would be on target. That would be in the ballpark. And then way out there, well, if this is a flowchart that has multiple outcomes and you wrote a single linear flowchart that only has 1 outcome, that would be way out there. Or if you can't figure out the steps, that would be way out there. So let's do this. Here's what I'm looking for. When I look at yours, I'm looking for, did you figure out what starts it? Did you just write begin, or did you figure out the actual starting event? Are the commands in it things that the computer does? And if there's more than one outcome, which there will be for all of these, you have conditionals that are yes, no, or true, false questions. So here we go. Take this scenario. When the user presses the go button, a scanner scans the user's student ID card, dispenses ice cream. 8th graders get 2 scoops, everyone else gets 1. Take a moment, pause the video, write a flowchart for this, and then when you're done, unpause the video. Okay, before I show you the flowchart, let's see here. Starting event. User presses the go. What are the 2 possible outcomes? 2 possible outcomes, you either get 2 scoops or you get 1. Those are the 2 possible outcomes. So what's a yes or no question to decide this? Are you in 8th grade? So with that now, here's my flowchart. When the go button is pressed, scan the ID card. Are you in 8th grade? If yes, 2 scoops. If no, 1 scoop. End. So what I'm looking for is, did you have the yes or no question? Did you have the 2 different outcomes? And did you identify the right starting event? And here's the thing. This action is something the computer does. This action is something the computer does. This action is also something the computer does. It's what the computer is deciding whether or not you're in 8th grade. All right, so you might be way off target. I'm expecting most people to be way off target. Let's get in the ballpark now with this next one. This next one, a little bit harder. There are actually 3 possible outcomes, but you can only ask yes or no questions. So see what you can do and pause. All right, this was just for me to see how well you did. With 3 possible outcomes, you can still only ask yes or no questions. So what do? We ask multiple yes or no questions. So let's imagine I have a sister who is in 6th grade. All right, let's do this. When the go button is pressed, scan the ID card. Is she in 8th grade? She is not. Is she in 7th grade? She is not. Therefore, no scoops. So 3 different outcomes gets more than 1 yes or no question. Okay, that was probably the hardest one we'll do. Let's go on to the next one. Get a little bit closer on target here. Everyone entering the United States has a passport scanned. Scanning the passport starts an algorithm to determine whether they can enter. If they have a passport and it is valid, the machine stamps the passport and they can enter. Otherwise, the machine says they are denied entry. So, pause, write your flowchart, and then unpause. Pause. All right. Well, let's look at this. Starting event. Scanning the passport starts an algorithm. 2 different outcomes. Well, either says they can enter or they are denied entry. So, yes or no question, is the passport valid? Let's see. Compare yours to mine. All right. This is that was number 3. This one will be number 4. It'll be the last one you get the answer to. So here we go. So when the read button is clicked, the app says the text that you type in the text box. If read slow is checked, the text reads slowly. After it's finished reading, it clears the text box out so you can type it again. Ready? Pause. All right. Let's see how you did. Now, one thing here. So when the read button is clicked, Is read slow checked? If yes, read text slowly. If no, read text normally, clear the box, and end. One step that is not here is type in the box. Why? Because the computer doesn't type in the box. You do. And after you type in the box, what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens until you press the read button. So that's what we have here. When we press the read button, you see stuff has already been typed into the box, but that is not part of the algorithm. This is the algorithm for what the computer does after you press the read button. Keep that in mind for the next one. So this one here, I am not giving you the answer to this one. See if you can figure out what are the two possible outcomes, what's a yes or no question that decides it, and then write it down. I've seen people fill up an entire page on this one. No. There are two possible outcomes. There is one yes or no question. So just figure this one out, write it down, turn it into me, and have a good rest of your day.